Hello, I'm Eve.
Hello, I'm Dan.
Hello, I'm Eve.
Hello, I'm Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Hi.
All four of us today are going to be talking to you
There's
about... There's four of us are going to be talking about wonderful kinds of things, such as...
Doctor Who in film, Doctor Who
Yes.
in cinema.
That's what we're going with for our second anniversary episode.
Second anniversary episode.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about Doctor Who in film, both past, present, and future.
Pop future?
Question
Who knows?
mark?
With a question mark.
What have you been up to lately, Dan, in terms of Doctor Who?
Not a lot, really, in terms of Doctor Who.
Yeah, because you're not writing or doing anything with Doctor Who, but there has been something different since last week.
Has there?
Yes, we actually got trailers and dates now.
It was literally after our first
About an
episode
hour.
went off.
About an hour after.
After we complained that there was no marketing for the new series, nothing like that.
We don't even have a date.
We don't even have a date. Literally an hour after we put the microphone away and
Put it into its box, took it out in the shed and...
did the rituals to put the machine gods to sleep.
Yep, and uploaded it to all of your favourite podcasting services that I could think of at the time.
Yeah, we're everywhere now. We're omniscient. But yeah, it's like Chris Chibnall, bad, is my personal nemesis at the minute. He's trying to destroy not only Doctor Who, the thing I love most in the world.
Are you suggesting that the current showrunner of Doctor Who had his finger on a trigger and at any point could have launched that trailer and literally watched our podcast, which was about an hour, and the moment it finished, as we were talking about potentially ending the reign of Chris Chibnall,
we called for his death.
Was so angry that he pulled the trigger in that there moment, for just to make our podcast immediately not relevant.
Just to spite me.
Now, Dan, because I'm a bad Doctor Who fan, I only took note of the fact that a trailer exists and that there was a date. I didn't. I watched it once and I didn't make note of the date.
23rd of October.
23rd of October, and we'll be watching it.
We will be watching it.
And when we're done watching it, we'll be getting in front of this here metal machine.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about it from Dan, an actual Doctor Who fan, and me, someone who tolerates Doctor Who. And also sometimes enjoys it, but has definitely not seen every episode.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
What will happen?
I don't know.
What will happen? What will happen to the timeless child, man?
I don't know, and I don't particularly care for that storyline, and I hope it goes away.
Well, in some press material footage, ding-a-ding-dong-doodah, I certainly did see the Doctor Who lady doing a regenerate while the Master Man was in the background. While in the background of him, yet further, was a Time Lord Cyberman. I think this is pretty much previously on Doctor Who, and just away we go. Who knows what's going to happen?
I'm looking forward to for some reason, all the new Doctors have done this thing where when they're about to regenerate, they know they're about to regenerate, and they look at the hand and it starts glowing.
And they look shocked.
And they're like, oh.
Like they haven't just been tortured or something.
It's time. I like that. I like the hand lucky thing. But Chibnall, I bet Chibnall doesn't do it because he's bad. Fuck you, Chibnall.
While the Master laughs in the background, I'm going to keep making you regenerate until you regenerate into someone I like.
Who is the Master's favourite Doctor?
Who is the current Master's, or just the Master as a concept over time, across regenerations, their favourite iteration of the Doctor?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to just bring things up we brought up in the last one, but it'd probably be attempted murder of William Hartnell.
Yeah.
He tried to bash that caveman's head in with a rock and was stopped by the companion of the time.
The Master approves.
By his granddaughter, I think.
Yeah.
The Master approves of this message. Have there been evil Doctor Who's? Has our Doctor Who ever just gone and done something that maybe has been a bit evil, even if potentially for the greater good?
In a not on television, but in a recent, while Doctor Who was off air during the pandemic, everything but the TV series got together and said, we're going to do just one massive major storyline. And it's where the 10th Doctor, played adequately by David Tennant, just goes, do you know what? I'm going to go to the very beginning of time. I'm going to find out what causes death. And I'm going to put a stop to it.
Wow.
It was awesome.
That seems a really ill-advised idea.
It was. And in other areas in like comics and audios and books, the 8th and Ninth Doctors, which is Paul McGann and Christopher Eccleston, existed in the future that the 10th Doctor had created, and they were like, what the piss? So in one of the books, there's a cliffhanger where David Tennant's Doctor is about to destroy this race called the Cotterer, who would give every race a time limit. Say, right, this is when your civilization ends. This is when you die.
Oh.
See you later. And basically, they created death so that the universe could grow.
Interesting. Okay.
And David Tennant's Doctor is about to destroy their fucking planet or whatever. And then
a perfectly ethical thing to do.
And then the 8th Doctor shows up with an army of Daleks, and the 9th Doctor shows up with an army of vampires, and they're like, fucking don't, because everything's gonna go ape shit. Just we'll sit down and talk about it, but just knock it off.
It's not worth it, David. Stop.
And the 10th Doctor's just like, no, piss off, and blows it up. And basically, it's the greatest sort of cliffhanger ever, because it implies that the 3 Doctors are gonna go at it.
Okay, now hold on. We've dropped by here today, and the premise of talking about films, talking about existing films and so on, and then we digressed a bit here into evil doctors, which is going to happen a lot, this kind of stuff. Yeah. And you've just come up with something that absolutely should be a film, a series of films. No, that sounds incredible.
It should.
Don't cram that mid-season into an existing season, or even make it an end-season thing. That needs to be its own entity. That sounds incredible.
It was.
And vampires, you didn't just do what Chibnall would have done and made the other team Cybermen. No. You've just gone, screw it, vampires.
What happened was, they were like, right, we're not going to have a TV series because of the pandemic. So what can we do instead? And they just came up with this batshit but amazing. They were like, we want it to be like a Marvel-esque thing. And I just think as far as cliffhangers go, having the Doctors be like at loggerheads with each other it was fantastic.
It's wonderful.
The fact that it can now only exist in book form makes me sad. It was a great read. I recommend it.
And that makes this iteration of the 10th Doctor a baddie. Because what they're doing, even if for good or ill-informed reasons, is ultimately going to do very bad things.
For the seemingly the right reasons. And there was an Ood in it called Brian, who was a hitman.
Oh, great.
And he wore a suit. And I met Brian when I went to the Doctor Who
Brian the Ood.
Brian the Ood.
Excellent.
And I said, I walked past him in a corridor. I went, look, it's Brian the Ood. And he was like, you know who I am? I'm like, yeah, I read the books.
Instead of a hard, that's great. This person that's managed to get a job, the job of their dreams, working at the Doctor Who Experience, gets to be Brian the Ood, volunteered for it, is excited about it because they're a big Doctor Who fan, and is just upset day to day as almost every single person coming into the show an Ood. And meanwhile, it just happens to be that this Ood in a suit, instead of a little glowing ball or a hat, is holding a gun, I imagine.
No, he's got a ball, but he's got a gun in the other hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Excellent.
Yeah. And he was murdered.
I've come to find you, Daniel. And there he is with his gun. And you're like, oh no, an Ood that happens to turn out to be sort of evil or under the control of someone else.
No, he wasn't. He was literally a hitman. Like, people were like, oh, Brian, I need you to kill whoever. And he'd be like, yeah, sure, give me the money.
Anyway, next week we'll be interviewing Brian the Ood on our podcast here to get the real insights of a real killer. And then next time
he'll tell us all about his flat Earth theories and that. He'll turn out to be just a bad person.
Oh, man. Actually, you know what? He's due to be on the Joe Rogan podcast first. So that was probably a warning sign. We should probably cancel that and bring someone more ethical and good in, like John Barrowman.
No, we should just challenge him on his beliefs. Just like, Brian, you've been to space.
Are you sure? He's an Ood with a gun. Are you sure you really want to roll down that hill?
I mean, I'll ask him not to bring the gun.
You'll ask him very nicely.
Yeah.
Anyway, Doctor Who in film... Excellent.
Best tangent ever.
Doctor Who in film, 10 minutes in, we're going to actually start talking about it.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so there are already Doctor Who films.
There are already Doctor Who films.
And the most known one I've actually watched. It had a clock in it.
Yeah.
And
The beryllium atomic
the man.
clock.
And a lady. Yes, that's what it was called. I remember the clock.
That lady was called Dr. Grace
Yes.
Holloway.
And that was from the 90s. This was in between New and Old Who, was it not?
Yeah, it was the bastard child of... So what happened was, Doctor Who got... It didn't officially get cancelled, it just got put to rest in 1989. Well, I had a dog that got put to rest. And, you know, we all know what happens there, don't we? They go to Wales, a farm in Wales, and they don't come back. So Doctor Who got sent to a farm in Wales. And
To run around with all the German Shepherds and Border Collies.
And suddenly, everyone and their dog thought, this weird old British programme actually has some legs. Let's try and make a film out of it.
Wow, really?
Honestly, there were so many attempts to make a Doctor Who film. There's books and documentaries. There's a barely known fact. Only the nerdiest of nerds know this, but now I'm sharing this information with you.
Oh, then we too can share in the joy of Doctor Who abortions.
One of the properties really wanted to keep the licensing, but they pissed about with the script and casting. They were like, oh, we'll cast so and so. They had to be physically in production by a certain time, or they'd lose the rights and the rights and licensing and all that.
Kind of like how until Fox sold themselves to Disney, there was a contractually obligated Fantastic Four film every couple of years. Each time has just been awful.
Exactly. It's the Fantastic Four syndrome. It had to be in production by a certain date, but they had no actors, they had no casting, no nothing. But they basically just knocked up a logo and a title. It was Doctor Who: The Last of the Time Lords, and they were like, "Oh, we've cast Leonard Nimoy as Doctor Who." And
Really?
Yeah. And apparently Leonard Nimoy was up for it. He wanted to do it, but there was just no. There was nothing. There was nothing in.
I'm fact checking it now by googling it. If you
what
have me
you pulled
typing
up is the episode where the Master is played by John Sitt.
Oh, God damn it!
So if you just go in the search bar, in the Google machine there, and just Leonard Nimoy Doctor Who.
Wow, Leonardo da Vinci. No, that's that. We'll talk about that later if you want.
Sure.
Wow. Okay.
Eve's just fact checking me because what I said sounds so much like bullshit. It's unbelievable.
It says here Leonard Nimoy also directed Doctor Who movie.
No, he was going to be in it.
Wow. Please.
He was going to be the Doctor.
Never mind existing films. Let's talk about this.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay. These film premises that failed. Please tell me about them.
So there was no premise. They just wanted to hang on to the rights. There was some bullshit story floating around, but it was basically Leonard Nimoy. They were like, we've got Leonard Nimoy, he's going to play Doctor Who, and they were like, oh really?
I could see that. But just because he was in Star Trek and they're both sci-fi, it's wrong to compare things based solely on
science fiction.
Yeah, just fact that they're sci-fi. But I quite like Leonard Nimoy there. I could see that as being interesting. So I can see where they got that from. So what was this? Was this a contract conversation? Was this an idea? What?
Well, it was just apparently there were talks, but Leonard Nimoy not agreed to anything. This is from what I remember from a documentary I've seen. But it's fascinating because basically the company, I can't remember what it was called, were saying, yeah, we've got Leonard Nimoy's Doctor Who. We're going in. We want a bit of an extension on our deadline so we can keep the rights, but we are going into production very soon. There was no script or anything like that. They just wanted... They were working on a script, but nothing concrete or anything.
Not even some chicken scratches on a notepad paper. Literally just... we need to make Doctor Who. Yeah. Somebody ring someone who knows sci-fi. Derek in the corner, you're the nerd. Do you know sci-fi?
Spock! Yeah? Star Trek!
Spock, Star Trek, choose him. Okay, could someone ring Leonard Nimoy right now, and we'll make it happen. And presumably... they were already at a table with Leonard Nimoy at a nice restaurant, and just as Leonard Nimoy was tucking into his lasagna, they just slide over a large sack of money. What happened next?
It was a phone call. It was a very brief phone call.
Wow, not even as far as lasagna.
Hey Leonard, we're desperate for someone to be Doctor Who.
Leonard Nimoy was like, yeah, I'll be you. I'll be your man.
Is that what he sounds like?
I don't know. It's just very strange. Anyway, Leonard apparently was open to it, but there was no contracts, no communication. And when the people who were in charge of the Doctor Who rights, I believe they're called the BBC, when they looked into it and saw that they were talking shit, the fucking rug just got yanked. Whoosh! They were like, no, we're having the rights back, you pisses. Pulling out
So they
bonkers.
basically went, no, you can't have your extension.
Yeah.
And I assume when Leonard found out, he was in his mirror wearing a nice long jacket, he had a scarf on, he was looking forward to it. This was why he got into acting.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, he receives a call. Ring, ring. It's an analog telephone because it's the olden times.
Yeah.
Picks up the phone. Hello?
Hi, it's me, Leonard.
What's happening? And then he's told by, presumably, whoever the director of the BBC at the time was, no. Phone slammed down, not happening.
Leonard Nimoy destroyed a car. He was that angry.
Really?
No, I don't know.
Oh, wow. No. Let's roll with that.
Sure, yeah.
Destroyed a car?
Yeah, with his bare hands.
Just absolutely terrified. Wow.
Incredible strength.
That's surprising, but he was a big Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't know
don't
if
fact
he-
check that.
Yeah, he was a huge Doctor Who
We
fan.
just mentioned Leonard Nimoy destroying a car with his
He
bare
asked
hands,
us
and
to do this
you're
podcast.
cautious about saying Leonard Nimoy's a fan of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He also can actually fly.
He's really Batman.
Was that the last we heard of that?
That was the last we heard of that. So that got made. That didn't get made, sorry. But then the Dimensions in Time happened because they needed the fucking rights for that as well. The shitty EastEnders crossover happened.
Oh yes.
And then so the 1996 TV movie was the making of just that was fascinating. It was the love child of a man called Philip Segal, who he was an American. He loved Doctor Who. He wanted to make a Doctor Who film, but he wanted it to be a continuation of the original. People in the BBC said, "You want a Doctor at the beginning? Okay, have Tom Baker." And Philip Segal was like, "Why?"
Who in the BBC? Name and shame them. Let's find them, Dan.
I can't remember.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
The controller of the BBC, Alan Yentob.
The Friends of Who podcast does not condone the violence, hunting down and subsequent beheading of BBC staff from the 80s.
Chris Chibnall. Kill him on sight.
Fair game.
Attack on sight.
That's not true, but we haven't done a Chibnall episode yet where we will be, presumably people will go, they don't hate Chibnall that much.
Oh, please don't think that, people.
Is that the last we
Chibnall
heard
bad.
of Leonard Nimoy's potential Doctor Who?
Yes, unfortunately it was a flash in the pan. I imagine this situation only lasted something like 6 weeks or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's not much here as I frantically Google it to try and prove you wrong on something.
That's Eve's job during the podcast. Make me say outlandish things about Doctor Who and try and prove me wrong. And just every time.
I hope that one day when we're looking at the Wikipedia page for this, there's a bit about Leonard Nimoy smashing a car, which quotes this podcast as its source for that information.
I would love that so much.
I understand this wasn't the only aborted Doctor Who film premise.
No, there's so many. So the original concept for the Paul McGann TV movie was there was something called the Leakley Bible. So what Philip Segal did, he was like, right, we want to do a series, but how are we gonna approach that? So they hired a man called John Leakley, I think his name was, but I can't remember. Not sure of his first name, but his surname was definitely Leakley because it was the Leakley Bible. And he went away and he wrote like this huge sprawling concept for a new version of Doctor Who, where the Doctor and the Master were friends on Gallifrey. The Doctor's father was there. They're
best Doctor and Master, best friends, playing Sega Mega Drive together, all of that
Time
stuff.
Lord, Sega Mega Drive together. Solving mysteries on the bicycles together and all things like that. But then the Doctor's father goes missing, and that's the impetus for him to leave Gallifrey. Meanwhile, the Master stays on Gallifrey to become the High President, and it turns out he's a tyrant. Oh, quelle surprise, mother. And it was all the individual episodes were just remakes of old 60s episodes, and all the monsters were reimagined for an American audience, and it was a bit shit. That got thrown out, and then I think they were coming up to losing the license, and that's when they cobbled together the TV movie with Paul McGann and Eric Roberts as the Master, who has more prominent billing on the poster for some reason.
Yes, that is we have a Wikipedia page open to refresh our brains here, get our facts right, all of that business, and there's a lovely picture. Doctor, there's lots of lightning in the picture, and the Master, it very much looks like someone out of the Matrix, isn't it? It's around the time of the Matrix.
But 3 years before the Matrix.
Oh, interesting. So this film inspired the Matrix.
There is a Matrix in Doctor Who, which is basically the same concept.
To be honest, I think just sunglasses were cool in the 90s. That's probably where the
sunglasses are still cool now, Eve.
Sure they are, Dan. Well, this seems like a good time to talk about the sunglasses and the 1996 film there.
Yeah,
the TV movie. Why do you call it a TV movie? Is that because it just went straight to TV?
It was
Tonight on BBC One, a film.
There was no theatrical release. It was literally it was made in the same budget as, because it was a co-promotion with Fox. Fantastic, Mr. Fox. They gave it. They didn't know what to do with it. They couldn't make it a film, like a film.
Okay.
And they didn't want to start with a TV series.
Well, why not? Why not either? What made them stop here and go, right, we're doing a film, but we're just going to release it on TV?
Because when Doctor Who left television in 1989, it was this strange, not very popular program. It had a very niche audience. They weren't sure if people would even fucking remember what Doctor Who was in America. Like, in Britain, when it released, it did bank. It was like the second most watched program like an entire week or something like that. It was amazing. Like, people loved it. Over in America, not so much, but they kind of fucked it by putting it on at the same time slot as a program called Roseanne, which people loved, and it was like the last ever episode of Roseanne, so it didn't do too.
Isn't that the same reason why the first episode of Doctor Who didn't do so well? Because it happened at the same time as a very large-scale public event. Was that also Roseanne?
No, it wasn't. It was the first episode of Doctor Who aired November 23rd, 1963, and for those of you who know, JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was assassinated on the 22nd of November 1963. So people were still interested.
Seems just like poor scheduling.
It was very, very ignorant of JFK to explode his head on that particular day.
Wow. So Roseanne, who died in Roseanne?
I don't know. I don't know anything about Roseanne other than it killed a potential.
But it's one of those primetime popular shows, and they aired it at the same time as this, thinking, great idea, let's run this thing we want to be successful against the thing that everyone in America watches at this time.
Yeah. They killed the baby in the crib. But the idea was that this TV movie was what was known as a backdoor pilot, which sounds
interesting, but
filthy.
But as a premise, then, if I'm right in saying that, if this does well, we'll do a few more of them.
We'll commission a series.
Yeah.
That was the plan, but unfortunately, it died. It died a death, and we never saw Doctor Who again.
Ever.
Until 2005.
Yes, but you almost say that like we're going to start talking about the origins of New Who. No, that's for something else. We're here to talk about
Doctor
films,
Who
Dan.
in film. So that's the 1996.
That's how it started. But this is prominent. This was a film. This got made. This didn't get thrown into a pan. This got put in the pan and sizzled at a warm temperature until crispy golden brown.
Crispy golden brown.
What happened in that? And is it considered fully canon?
It is, yeah. The Eighth Doctor's like an official... In fact, technically he's the longest Doctor, even though he only had one episode and basically a sketch where he regenerates into John Hurt. But he was the Doctor for the longest time. he was the official. He was like the face of Doctor Who for quite a while. What a face! What a beautiful man.
He is very attractive, in a sort of British way.
Yeah, he looks very British.
Was he a good Doctor?
Well, for the brief, I mean, he's been in the audios a lot, and a lot of the ones that I've listened to of his Doctor were very good. I can't really judge. I mean, I mostly know this is my favourite Doctor in book form.
No, was there a lot of that?
Yeah, loads of books. So many. He's the Doctor that had faction paradox. In fact, a lot of the stuff in the book line is. I definitely want to do an episode on this one day, the podcast. A lot of the stuff in the book line was stolen by the new series, like the Time War, Gallifrey being destroyed. All these important concepts that are now super popular, and also that console room. Oh my god, why have we not talked about that console room?
Yeah, so that is easily my favourite. It's TARDIS interior, I should say.
Yeah, look at it. It can only be seen to be believed. Our
Yeah.
words won't do it justice.
I recommend googling 8th Doctor TARDIS interior, and what you'll find is instead of a little sci-fi room surrounding an interior, it's more like a
It's like a mansion.
18th, 19th century mansion
Yeah.
with a sort of sci-fi, your TARDIS console in the centre there, looking as grand as can be.
It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
It is, and I want to see more of this. I feel we could one time just do let's quick fire review every single TARDIS interior. But no, we're here to talk about
today.
the film.
Another day, definitely.
But this is notable as it on film. It also just, in my opinion, seems to be the biggest TARDIS interior, the most open space.
Genuinely, if you go back and watch that, which we should do a watch of it one time together, all the budget for that episode went in that console room. All of the budget.
It's a whole huge space, isn't it? Rather than
you could live in
a
it.
Sci-fi sort of control center like all of the other ones are. This one is a huge lived-in space. They pulled out all the stops. They got wood. They put wood in places. There's chairs, rugs.
I like that. There's just, even though it's only 90 minutes long, you can easily picture the Doctor just sitting. In fact, I think he does just sits on one of the couches, reading a book, reading The Time Traveller by H.G. Wells, of course, and just having a nice jolly cup of tea, just sit down having a chill. But it also does that lovely thing of you can see the Doctor living there, enjoying the space and what have you. But it also does it works as a TARDIS console. There's bits where there's sparks flying and the things going up and down. And
fires. I'm pretty sure there were like torches, fires.
It was.
And poles. It was torch lit.
Yeah, it was great. It's great. I love that console.
Incredible, really. You liked as a Doctor, Paul McGann?
Loved him, to be fair, really.
What about as a film? Did it work for you? Was it, don't compare it against the greatest films in all history or the worst films in all history, but did it work? Did it do what it was trying to achieve?
I can't honestly say that, for real, when I watch that film, I get such a burst of nostalgia. I remember being 6 or 7 or however old I was when it came out, and just stayed up late to watch it because it was on at 9 o'clock for some reason.
Wow, that's late.
It was late for me at that age anyway. It's late for me now, to be fair. But just sat watching it. My dad was there, and then we recorded it on video.
That's illegal.
And I hope my dad's listening to this, because I remember I'd constantly watch it over and over and again, and it got stuck in the tape in the machine, in the VCR for 5 years. And for 5 years, I was like, Dad, when are you getting that video out of the machine so I can watch it again? And he just wouldn't. Why he didn't throw it away and just buy the video or whatever? I don't know, to shut me up. I don't know.
Cheap.
Took me a long time to see that again, and it was genuinely a thrill to see it after so many years. And I can't judge it as a film. I can't. Sometimes I'm really cynical about it. I'm just like, that's a lot of shit, really. I only watch it for Paul McGann. But other times I'm like, no, it's great, it's brilliant. So I can't answer that. I enjoy watching it. I think that's
Well, do you want to give us a quick plot synopsis for those that can't be asked to watch it? Although I do recommend it, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I recommend it as well. Watch Doctor Who, people.
What
That's my
happens?
prescription.
Beginning, middle, end. 3 words. Go.
So it starts off with
That's
the...
3 words. You're done. You're up next.
Okay.
No,
It starts off with the 7th Doctor, and the Master's been put on trial by the Daleks, and they blast him to shit, and the Time Lords are like, right, we need you to go to the Daleks' home planet and get his remains and bring them back to Gallifrey for them to be stored or whatever the fuck. Which, in itself, that would have been great. There should have been that. The Doctor's sneaking onto Skaro, stealing the Master's remains to take them back to Gallifrey. I'd have watched that. That'd have been great. But the Master's tricked the Doctor, so as soon as he's in the TARDIS and safely secured, he becomes a snake and makes the TARDIS land on Earth. The 7th Doctor's shot, and he regenerates into Paul McGann, but he's lost his memory. And the Master's like, I'm going to steal your regenerations, Doctor, and leave you a husk.
That's interesting.
And I'm going to turn the Earth inside out while I'm doing it.
He loses his memory.
The Doctor loses his memory, yeah.
Does that happen in other regenerations? That's really interesting as an idea, having to meet people again.
Well, there's no old companions for him to meet, unfortunately.
Okay.
So it's just strangers. But no, that'd have been interesting. But the 8th Doctor canonically has lost his memory more than once. He's lost his memory in the books. I think he even lost his memory in the audios, but I'm not too familiar with the audios to confirm that. But he definitely loses them in the books, which is quite careless, really.
Okay, well, how does he get them back? Surely you can't just retrace your tapes or give him a ring.
In the
See
film,
where it rings from under the cushions. There they are.
in the film or in the books, how does he get his memory back?
In the film, we're talking about the
In the
films, Dan.
Film, I think he just remembers.
In a moment of need, remember.
No, it was a moment of passion, actually. His companion, he was the first Doctor to smooch his companions. Companions plural, just the one. It was just the one that he did a smooch on. So yeah, that happened.
Okay, and that happens. What happens next?
In the film, oh, bless you.
Excuse me, I won't edit that out.
No, keep that in. That was perfect. That was a highlight for
Wow,
me.
excellent.
So
That's our beginning. What's our middle?
Our middle.
This is how all films are made: middle and end.
The Doctor realizes that the Master's going to use a... No, in fact, no. Just watch it. I will say no more. Just watch it, enjoy it.
Okay, yeah. So I guess then, by not spoiling the ending, where Doctor Who wins, that's the spoiler, of course. But actually, I do remember a fun climax with flashing lights in the TARDIS. There's green. I feel like there's a pool, kind of like the Ra's al Ghul pool.
You're thinking of the Eye of Harmony.
Maybe.
But you're spoiling it for people who should be watching it.
Yes, go and watch it immediately so you can form your own opinion on the companion for that film. How was the companion? Should we see them again?
Grace
Was
Holloway.
it appropriate? Were they American?
They were American. So she was one of the doctors who operated on the Doctor's gunshot wound. And the 8th Doctor recognises her in a lift and isn't sure where from, but he's barefoot, wearing... like he hasn't got shoes.
That seems fun.
And he's got a John Doe tag on his toe still. And she... so he's a bit creepy, really, when I think about it, actually. He's like getting all up in his shit going, I know you are, I know you, I just can't remember where from. And she's like, please, God, leave me alone. Just leave me alone. And he like follows her home or something. Definitely watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's 2 characters. Creepy cancel Doctor and companion. Were they a good companion, though?
Grace Holloway was she was very much a 90s, I'm a strong independent woman.
Oh my gosh.
Character.
Time travel. Wow.
Yeah. I think she's
a bit sort of
I don't think she's fazed by the TARDIS being bigger on the inside. I think she like plays it off. And she calls it low tech as well. It's very low tech. And the Doctor's like, excuse me. This planet can take this machine can take you to any planet in the universe at any point in that planet's time. So what are you comparing it to? And then he like fiddles around.
I mean,
with the TARDIS.
you know, she gets in and there is like a literal sofa, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's made of wood as well.
Which is what my TARDIS interior would be like. Be a sofa, big TV, and just like a separate room just for all the plushies.
You're describing our living room.
Yep. Yep.
Which,
That's 2 of 3 characters in the film. The third character being the Master. Tell us about the Master.
Played by Julia Roberts' brother, Eric Roberts.
This is just incredible because, you know, I've got the Wikipedia open on my screen so I can look at this stuff. You are too far away to see the screen. The text is too tiny. You just remember this stuff.
Yeah, I just remember this stuff. I don't need
but
the screen.
But I'm here to fact check, and you are right.
I know.
The Master is indeed played by Julia Roberts. Please go on.
Julia Roberts' brother, Eric.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, Julia Roberts. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pardon me, sorry. So the Master's quite interesting in this one. He kind of the film is the Master goes through 2 phases, right? There's the beginning of the film, which is clearly what Eric Roberts thought the Master should be before watching any Doctor Who.
Okay.
What I mean by that, he's very Terminator-esque. He's very still.
I'm the baddie.
Yeah, he's very much wearing the sunglasses, the long coat, and he's like, I'm looking for the man that died. And like he takes his fingernail right off his finger to freak someone out.
Oh, why? That sounds horrible.
It was disgusting. But then I feel like halfway through filming, Eric Roberts went away and watched some Doctor Who. And the second half of the film, he is just joyously camp. He's just incredible. He's just out there. He's off the wall. He turns his performance not all the way up to 10, but he goes from a 3 to an 8.
Oh, great. So that seems that's what I want out of a Master.
Yeah.
I want that Master to be someone who's a little bit loopy-loo.
Yeah. He goes fucking full batty bananas in it.
So a good Master?
I enjoyed him, yeah. Cause
Okay.
While he was doing the I'm the Terminator thing, he was quite scary, I thought. But then when it makes sense in the story as well, because by that point he thinks he's won, so he's just like, "Meh, I'm gonna steal your body and your lives. I'm gonna steal your TARDIS. I'm gonna go and steal some gold from the bank." Like he goes full Saturday morning cartoon villain, and you know what? I'm there for it.
He's putting himself at risk of being tracked down by the Batman, but but no, that does sound fun and interesting there. And I mean the Adam West Batman.
Of course.
None of these dark nonsense. I mean one that just can't get rid of a bomb.
Adam West didn't need no bulletproof costume. Adam West is already bulletproof.
But bullets don't work on Adam West.
No. Old age did.
Great. A whole film
of
shenanigans in that middle, the bridge, so to speak, between new and old Who.
Yeah. As an artifact as well of what Doctor Who possibly could have been like in the 90s. Fascinating. Genuinely just fascinating.
But not the only film that's been made, but we have to travel back in time.
Further back in time. 30 years. To 1966, I think.
And then we fade out into
65.
You want me to Google it?
You don't have to Google it.
I'll just take your word for it. Actually, there it does. Yeah,
there
it says it right there. 65.
Yeah.
Wow, and the next one was 66. They farted that out quick.
Yeah.
Tell us about these old Doctor Who films. What was it called?
Right.
What was it about?
Picture the scene. It's 1965, this hot new television programme called Doctor Who. Daleks, you can't move for Daleks. Daleks are everywhere. There's Dalek suits, there's Dalek fucking cereal, Dalek jumpers, Dalek helmets, Dalek toys.
Really? Are we in peak Doctor Who fandom for the old times?
People just loved the Daleks. You're a cinema person, you commission films, and why aren't we making money out of this? So what they did was they basically remade an episode of Doctor Who, which was the second episode of Doctor Who, called Doctor Who and the Daleks. And they just remade it. They changed some things. Around. They changed quite a lot, really. Like, the Doctor is no longer this mysterious alien. He's just an inventor who invented a time and space machine in his garden.
Oh, wow. I think you showed me a clip of this.
Yes,
the inside of it was like some Rube Goldberg machine of objects you found around your uncle's house because you need to make a TARDIS set.
I like
you
fucking
already
glued them to the wall.
You've already blown the budget on something else. You all you have is enough money for a moving van. So you go around to your crazy uncle's house, steal all this stuff, glue it all together. In fact, I'm gonna have to bring this up, but
Yeah, I hate that TARDIS
I
console.
feel like this could be the worst TARDIS console.
Because it looks the TARDIS console is, in my opinion, I'm gonna say positive things about it because I love Doctor Who, but it is genuinely, it's an iconic thing. I think people could recognise it just by looking at it. And then I don't know why as well. I don't know why they thought this would be a good idea, but they just changed it to make it look like a junkyard had shat all over a lab. It's just, guys, a mess. Absolute mess. We're looking at it now on the machine, on the screen.
We're trying to.
We're trying to, anyway. But yeah, there it is.
Wow.
You can't even bigger it.
Yes, I can.
Oh,
there
yes,
it
you
is.
can.
It's bigger. That is actually just wires scrambled everywhere.
And just
That's-
little.
I'm going to try and identify some of the items in this. That is something from a science lab designed to talk about chemicals that's been spray painted gold. Lots and lots of the insides of speakers of the day. These are all these things that are around here, just hanging off the ceiling, strapped to the wall here as well.
It's bad.
These are all what come inside speakers that
Yeah.
makes the boom boom go bow wow.
The boom boom go bow wow.
Absolutely. And there's some others, there's just clips, there's bits of metal,
Yeah.
wires. It is a mess.
It's a bowl with some.
And randomly a rocking
a
chair,
rocking chair.
of course, because there's also this is like being inside of an Aldi or a Lidl. Like there you are going down an aisle, and to your right, peanuts and carrots all together, and onto your left, a jumper, a knitting chair,
It's just bad.
some bowls, some speaker parts,
It's-
and a battery.
It's so bad. And that plunger, so like to operate the TARDIS, there's a little stick in the floor that you push in and off it goes. The thing doesn't go up and down. I like it when the thing goes up and down.
Oh
when
yeah, the
is
TARDIS
in the
thing doesn't go up and down.
There isn't even a TARDIS thing. Nothing goes up and down it. So why? It don't make sense that it makes the noise because there's no allusion to engines. There's no allusions to engines doing anything.
And there's a human inventor man. The Doctor is a human inventor man. So
And he's also, unlike in the TV show, or I'm going to call mainline continuity because I'm a fucking nerd, he's just called the Doctor, right? Or El Doctor if he goes to Spain. In this, Peter Cushing plays the Doctor, by the way, famous actor for playing Van Helsing and Dracula. He's starred in a lot of movies with Christopher Lee that were in black and white and shit like that. He plays a character who is a human inventor called Doctor Who. He's actually called Doctor Who in this, ladies and gentlemen.
my name is Barry Who, and I'm a doctor.
No, just Doctor Who.
Wow. Okay. That doesn't sound so great. So I take it this is not canon? Question mark.
So-
Not that we should be held down by the concept of canon. Let people have creative freedom, but
No, it's not.
yeah, because
But-
that doesn't make sense.
In the novelisation of the 50th anniversary, which we talked about last week in our anniversary edition, if
Okay.
for our regular listeners, I hope we get some.
Mm.
Hi, Mum.
Not my mum.
Oh,
Yeah, she gave up 10 minutes in.
why?
She didn't know Doctor Who.
Well, this is an educational tool.
There was a genuine complaint. My mother thought the YouTube video had broken because there was no video component. And that's why she didn't want to watch. She didn't want to listen to us. She wanted to look at us, which is wonderful. So
Us.
maybe video content soon. Maybe a nice video feed of just Daniel while we talk here.
Okay, that's the
That seems fun.
But
We'll get lots of comments. We should do that sometime, but let's think about that another time. Here we have
but in the
not even the only iteration of someone who is human but believe themselves to be the Doctor. That's something else. We will talk about Wooden Cyberman another day.
Oh yeah, I love Wooden Cyberman.
Yes, and Giant Cyberman and all the things.
All the different iterations of the Cyberman. But yeah, in the novelisation of the 50th anniversary, it alludes to these films, and it says that they are films within Doctor Who continuity about like leaked unit files or something like that.
Interesting.
Which is great. I love that. Just a little bit of
that was your bit of fun there.
that was a fun little bit of trivia.
So tell us about the film. There were two of them. Were they direct film and sequel?
So basically, it just follows a condensed version of the plot of the original episode, which is the TARDIS arrives on this planet, and it's like, oh god, it's a bit shit here, isn't it? Oh look, there's a city, And Doctor Who goes, I want to go and explore it. And everyone else is like, I want to leave. And the Doctor's like, oh, all right then. And he pulls a bit of TARDIS off and he's like, oh, this is broke. Do you know where might have stuff to replace it and fix it? That magical city down there.
So he's a sociopath.
He's a dickhead. And then they're all like, oh, yeah, all right, let's go and have a look. And he's got his little jolly on. Away they walk. And it's the Dalek city. And they're like, well, we're going to probably kill you, but let's decide first. So this is the Daleks
when they were almost certainly made out of plastic. Because if I remember certain clips, I'm pretty sure a Dalek could be stopped just by a couple of humans, including a child, just yanking on it and pulling pieces off.
No, what actually happened there was, so the Daleks in this, they're like baby Daleks. They're not conquering the universe. They're
just the OG were a bit mutated. We've got these cool suits.
Yeah.
What do you think?
But they worked via static electricity. They figured out, and to stop the Dalek, they put a carpet down and drag the Dalek onto the carpet, and that way it didn't conduct the electricity.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
that is absolute. First of all, from a scientific and technical point of view, for a device this large and powerful to be controlled using the very, very small voltages that come from electricity is just amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. But then also for them to be destroyed by a carpet is a work of comedic genius.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Was it meant to be a comedy?
No.
This was not a comedy.
You shut your mouth. You stop talking.
Not something designed to delight futurists and enrage electricians, but in fact a serious attempt at science fiction.
Why don't you shut up and just look at the colourful Daleks? Oh God, as well. Look how colourful they are. You can tell this was the first time the Daleks were in colour as well.
Oh, really
there's
interesting.
Red ones, blue ones. There's a black and gold one. He's the boss, can't you tell? Yeah, it's fantastic. And they meet another race of people that share the Daleks planet called the Thals, who are all like blonde, blue-eyed, super people. And they want to make peace with the Daleks, but the Daleks are like, yeah, we'll tell them we'll make peace with them, but we're going to kill them. But it backfires when Doctor Who and his friends lead a Thal attack on the Dalek city and just they kill the Daleks. Just wipe them out.
That probably is why they got so mad.
The Daleks got really mad. Really
mad enough that there was a sequel. So did this film do well? It must have done if there was a sequel.
It made bank, as the kids say.
Oh, interesting. Right, and then our sequel, I see its title here, Doctor Who and the Daleks, Invasion of Earth, 2150 AD.
It's a big old title, that one. Yeah, no, it was good. That one was good as well.
Tell us about it now.
So the Doctor Who and friends again accidentally travel forward in time to the year 2150 to find London a complete ruin. Oh dear, what's happened here?
Wow, they've travelled 2022?
2150 AD.
Oh, okay.
This is a different nightmare future, Eve. Not the one we're currently living in. And they're like, oh, what's happened to London? Why is it gone to the dogs? And they're wandering around, and it's quite an iconic shot, and they managed it in the TV version as well. A Dalek just comes out of the Thames at them. And not just the Dalek, but their pals, the Robomen, who are humans who have been like brainwashed into serving the Daleks.
Oh, interesting.
Not as horrific in the original TV episode. In the original TV, in the movie, they get these cool leather suits and the helmets look cool and they get ray guns. In the TV series, they just get a helmet and act lobotomized.
Really?
And it's genuinely quite horrific.
Robo-men, you say?
Robo-men.
Great.
So
I've
there's
just brought these up. They
right.
look like Star Wars meets Judge Dredd.
Yeah, there's the ones from they get cool helmets.
You should Google this because this is not visual format and we're Googling stuff. This is bad podcasting.
And they get, we're new to this. Please.
Are they holding whips?
Yeah, they get whips.
So anyway, the Robomen are given whips. They have bicycle helmets on and walkie-talkie strapped to the side of the head. But more importantly, they each get 2 speed stripes.
Yeah, it does look like somehow a shitter version of the 1995 Judge Dredd.
This is the Dalek Gestapo.
The Dalek Gestapo. Let's look at the black and white picture there. That's just horrible.
It's not great, is it?
No, I prefer the original version because it's more horrific.
So the plot of the film here, the Daleks have invaded Earth. Did they win? It sounds like they won.
They won, yeah. There's like a bit of backstory in the episode in the film. They're like, yeah, they gave the virus bombed the planet, then they fired asteroids at us, and then by the time they invaded, we were already quite beaten. So yeah, then now the management's changed. We get less pay and risk of death.
And how does our human companion, whose Christian name is Doctor Who,
Yes.
how does he defeat and fend off the evil Daleks?
So the Dalek. Let me get to the Daleks' plan first, Steve, because
okay.
it's genuinely batshit insane. Their plan is to hollow out the Earth's core, plop an engine in there, and use the Earth as a sort of battle station to pilot around the universe and conquer other planets.
Interesting. The idea of planets as a ship is something that technically can work within the bounds of physics. Unfortunately, the minute you move it away from a star, it just freezes. And at that point, I mean, you might as well have just picked, I don't know, a moon, any of the moons in our solar system, any other planet that's lifeless and contained one of the most abundant materials in the universe,
Grass.
without the need to enslave or conquer or take over a planet.
But
This seems ill-advised from a scientific point of view.
the Dalek thought process is, if we just go and do it on the moon, we'd have to do all the work.
Ah, right. So they wanted people to do the work for them.
To do the work for them.
And
Exactly.
hence we have Robomen.
Hence we have Robomen and slaves
okay.
and stuff. And summary exterminations.
You know, no one in the Dalek science crew ever thinks of maybe building some sort of universal assembler, basically a constructive device that can build itself, like a 3D printer that can build 3D printers, but also other things. But just mines out a bit of rock, makes another one of itself, and starts building your house. You don't even need slaves for that. But the Daleks are not smart; they're angry.
They are angry. And you asked how the Doctor defeated the Daleks in this.
Tell me, please. Carpets everywhere.
I'm fairly certain that
The biggest carpet we've ever seen.
he magnetised the Earth's core or something like that, and all the Daleks got sucked into it.
He magnetised the Earth's already magnetised core.
Or he did something to do with the Earth's core, because I remember the ending of the film being just Daleks falling in a hole.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The problem is the hole wasn't very deep, so...
It went right down to the Earth's core.
Who could... What?
Yeah, it was Daleks aren't
I
like a
object.
slavey.
I don't know the science behind if that would work, but in itself that's incredible. I'm sure molten magma would just come out of the hole and just fuse it up with lava.
If you was out there and I said, Eve, dig a hole, and you said no, and I started whipping you, you would dig a hole, Eve.
Like, the hole is only going to be something like one number out of the back of my bum.
We won't be doing a podcast next week,
like,
because Eve will be too busy digging.
What one? the crust is like 1% of the Earth, and then it's all just.
They had a
liquid
fucking
hot
one of
magma.
them. All the slaves, they had one of them.
They all had a digger.
They all had a jackhammer.
Just in a circle, just digging holes. Digging holes. Same we keep digging holes. Right, the Daleks fall into a hole. That is how they're defeated. So it's no wonder then that plans for a third film were abandoned following the poor box office reception of the second film. Do we know anything about the hypothetical third film that could have been?
Yes.
Anyway, next up we'll be talking about Doctor Who films, some more. But now, that's all of the films, is it?
That's all of the existing films, yeah.
So, off the back of that, I thought it'd be interesting to spitball some ideas and think about how, in modern day times, the now times,
in
our post-apocalyptic now that we live in
a horrific dystopia.
how do you think Hollywood would approach the idea of making a Doctor Who film now?
I have mixed feelings about the potential of a Doctor Who film now, because as much as I would love to be like, right, I'm off to the cinema to watch Doctor Who, that would be great. It's tough making a Doctor Who film, because most films that are adventure-y or this kind of thing, it ends in a fist fight. Doctor Who's not really
Sky beams as well.
Sky
beams are very popular.
Doctor Who could do a sky beam. I think it's ended its sky beam after 60 years. But it usually ends in some sort of violent punch out between the main character and the main villain, and even the Doctor Who movie from 1996 did this a little bit. And Doctor Who's just not that character, I don't think.
I mean, if we're talking about how a Doctor Who would be filmed now in our Marvel and everyone trying to be Marvel times that we're living in, yeah, I think that is probably what they'd go for. And maybe if our main Doctor isn't the guy doing the punching even, I can see them trying to do something like that. But it's good. They're going to have to put the Daleks in it, aren't they? I could not see a serious attempt at a film today on Doctor Who if let's say, I don't know, Universe, or let's say, please touch this wood and bless all the gods you know that Disney got hold of it. Please don't do that. If Disney got hold of it and just tried to do a Marvel...
I think Doctor Who is better suited to a massive franchise where it's not just Doctor Who. It's.
Well, you think they'd go cinematic universe with it then? There's no way they'd make one film and not try and go, let's look at the reception of the first film and immediately announce 12 follow-up films.
Even as we was talking about the 1966 films, I was in the background of my brain, the background radiation, the dying embers of sanity in there, were thinking, I'd love to see a movie about the people who resisted the Daleks before the Doctor came along. Do you know what
That'd be so interesting.
Yeah.
You're
For
going...
example.
Yeah, in the same way, I guess, that they've started doing that with Star Wars properties lately. But the idea of going, okay, let's take this very well fleshed out and just hugely expansive vat of lore and do something interesting without it necessarily needing to be about the Doctor.
Yeah.
I would love to see human resistance against Daleks. I'd love to see, just off the top of my head, things you could do with that. Maybe one of those resistance's ideas is upgrading humans cybernetically, and it's not our current, law that's going on, but the idea of this is a prolonged invasion over the course of 10, 20 years. How do these different factions try and fight against the Daleks? I can see Cybermen coming out of that, logically speaking. Not just a mad inventor that thinks everyone should be a bit bigger and shiny, but a genuine reason behind Cybermen existing. And then subsequently exploring the ideas of a lack of individuality being not so great. You could do multiple films with that.
Yeah.
In a sense, you're not just going baddies invading then. You're not just going, let's just do Terminator with Daleks.
Yeah.
You're going invasion of a vastly superior species with a very angry voice.
Yeah.
And just flooding that. Maybe other long-time, well-known species from the Doctor Who franchise are invading that planet too. They're just like, I'm going to get in on this. I'm going to get some stuff out of there, get some artifacts out while the Daleks are blasting them.
You could do like because you could do like a horror episode where there's a species in Doctor Who called the Rutans, and they're just blobs of horrible, nasty shit that have also no individuality, but that's neither here nor there, and they can take the shape of people. Why not do an episode that's basically The Thing, but without Doctor Who?
Well, I'm thinking, film. We could talk about horror ideas for ages. But for now, Hollywood.
All right. Okay.
I don't think they'd approach Hollywood. I think they'd do something like this. They'd try and make a Doctor Who cinematic universe.
So straight off the bat, I think if I was a Hollywood producer, I would look at things in Doctor Who that haven't actually been on screen. First thing that comes to mind, the Time War.
You think they'd do that? I think they'd play it safe
I think
and go,
they'd
here are
try.
ideas that we know would work.
Because
you think they'd genuinely try and go? I guess depends who's directing.
If you were going to make a Doctor Who cinematic universe, everything.
But it's not me making it.
No, but
it's our current Hollywood.
If I were making a Doctor Who cinematic universe, I would start with the Time War because one, it's a very cinematic concept.
I guess so.
It's a big blockbuster action event, but also in terms of a storyline, you've got threads from classic Doctor Who going into it, but also everything that happens in new Doctor Who post 2005 comes out from that.
Assuming they don't try and make it their own sort of spin-off idea, but
Yeah.
I like the idea of that, and I like how you could ground that in humanity. Let's say the thing that sparks the Time War into actually happening could be the Daleks invading Earth.
I can tell you
That could be how we bring the human element into
the
it.
very
I could see
thing-
them doing that.
the very thing that sparked the Time War, was the Daleks finding out through various ways and means that the Time Lords had sent the Doctor to Skara at the point of their creation to try and stop them being born, and the Daleks were like, "What?
What?
What?
Rightly so.
What the fuck?" And then throughout the classic series, there were various plots and counterplots that were just sort of going bubbling away in the background, or they were the focus of certain episodes and stories that Russell T Davies kind of used to be like, these are the events that led up to full-blown war between the Daleks and Time Lords.
Interesting. So who do you think directs this film? Let's say they go, right, we're going to make a film. Here you go, BBC. And there is the Director General of the BBC sat at a table at a nice restaurant. He's just put his napkin on, just about to tuck into his lasagna, as these Hollywood people slowly push over a very large sack of money.
Slowly pushing his lasagna onto the ground.
Yes, and this time they got as far as the meeting. They're having the lasagna. He's already tucked in. He knows it's good, and he's going to go, yes, green light, make this film. And they make it about the Time War. Maybe they make it a trilogy. Who do they get directing it? Not your pick, not my pick. Who do you think would be
Jon
a
Favreau,
director?
because he can handle like big.
You
action.
deliberately named a director I don't know.
You do know Jon Favreau.
I
He
probably
directed
do.
Iron Man. He directed the Mandalorian. He also plays Happy Hogan in
That's why I recognise his face hole, having just googled
his
it.
face hole. But he can do the big battle action sequences. But he can also do the nice little character moments that make you care and stuff like that.
So perhaps that would also be a good call. You think not only would they pick that, but it would be a good call too.
Be a great shout. I mean, if it was just a regular old, if it was just a regular old episode of Doctor Who or our ideal series of Doctor Who, then definitely fucking Wes Anderson. I'd love to see Wes Anderson's Doctor Who.
Well, let's go with a Jon Favreau. Maybe think about that for now. Hollywood's making this, right? They want at least 3 films. It's already been greenlit before we even know the reception. And someone mentioned that maybe this time they shouldn't air it against a big Marvel film. So it won't. People might actually watch this damn thing. Jon Favreau is our director.
Yeah.
And, hey, he's been given a big sack of money too, and he can pick any actors he likes. These aren't your picks for a Doctor, Companion, Master, etc. These are Hollywood's picks.
Who would Hollywood pick as Doctor
Who, right now, is the sort of modern-day appropriate person that an American company, I think they'd go British, I think. I don't think they'd make that old stereotype of Americans trying to make British stuff and just recasting everyone. I think they would know that this needs to be a British actor.
Genuinely, either Idris Elba or
Idris Elba is quite intense.
Yeah, but if it's the Doctor during the Time War, that's not John Hare.
Yeah, now that's even better. We could have a bit more of a colder Doctor here that lends the power of love through human friendship. Idris Elba. Idris Elba. How about you mentioned Cumberblobben there?
Or Cumberblabben.
Benahau Cumbles. It's very tired and old to make that joke, but Benedict Cumberbatch, ladies and gentlemen,
who
is possibly...
You surely mean Bimbleby Brimbleback.
I often cite Benedict Cumberbatch as such an obvious place to go for who do you cast for Doctor Who. Do you think do you think Hollywood would go, who's lazy. The obvious pick? You think they'd be that lazy? Because obviously he'd work as a Doctor Who. He's proven that in other things he's been in, that he has that kind of... He could have that kind of cocky, interesting personality as something like this. Heck, he's even proven he could probably make an interesting master.
Yeah, he would,
Playing Khan in the pew-pew sci-fi...
Who?
Correct me if I'm wrong about Khan, but Star Trek... Khan.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yes. In the Star Trek that's all lens flares, that one.
Oh, yes.
Lens flare Star Trek, he's in that.
Do you know what?
And he plays a baddie, and he's British, and that could work too.
It'd be a fucking nightmare scenario if they got him to direct it. Mr. Mystery Box. No one cares what's in the box. Well, we fucking do, you dickhead. Sorry.
This shouldn't be a mystery thing. This should be... This should be an interesting. They'd make it a thing. There'd be cliffhangers and all this stuff. There'd be a sky beam, guaranteed. Let's make it an interesting sky beam. Let's make it a tornado of Daleks. Whatever's going on, whatever sounds wonderful. So, any other picks that you think Hollywood would cast? I wouldn't put it past them to hire someone who can do a good British accent.
Keanu Reeves.
It's what we all want Keanu Reeves to be, everyone in everything, and we can't have that, Dan.
No.
And I'm sorry, but he's got too much on at the moment.
I mean, if we've got a cast...
He's also just too nice. He's too nice.
I think as a trade-off for having a British Doctor, they'd have the trade-off that they made for the 1996 film, and that's, we want an American to play the baddie.
Oh, okay.
So...
Fair enough. I mean, you have that luxury. It's sci-fi, for one. It's fictional, for another. So, it doesn't matter if they're not as they were originally portrayed. You don't have to be angry if they're a different nationality, gender, etc. Let's not go on a tirade there. But you can do what you want. And if you want your master or your Doctor to be played by an American, you can do that. But what would Hollywood do? And I can see that working, actually. An American master.
I don't think the master would be the villain in a Time War story. I think it'd be Rassilon.
But maybe they'd bring him into it. I don't know. We'll see. They're doing a trilogy. This is happening now. We've confirmed it.
I think as the only American I would like to see play Rassilon, if I was a Hollywood executive.
Rassilon, for those not in the know, is angry super leader Time Lord man.
He's one of the founders of Time Lord Society, and every now and again in times of emergency, they wheel him out and be like, "Can you sort of help us out, you bastard?"
Squeak, 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 and it's like got a hobble on it. It's a bit like Silence of the Lambs, and it's just Rassilon.
For a price, Clarice, I will save your civilization. But during the Time War, he was like, "Yeah, sure, but I'm going to be the president forever. And if you disagree with me, I'm going to vapor erase you from history."
You know what? You know who's American and has those ideas that would be great? Anyway, who would you cast in this role?
For me, it's Bryan Cranston.
Okay.
Because he looks, when he does certain facial features, he looks like a stone. He looks like someone I do not want to fuck with.
I'm going to type sexy Bryan Cranston because I know what Bryan Cranston looks like, so there's no fun in Googling it.
Immediately, it's pictures of him semi-naked from Malcolm in the Middle.
See,
yes, he'd make a fantastic Rassilon. There he is.
You know what? I like that idea. We know he can be eccentric. We know he can be serious and angry. And we know he can be the loving father type. So he could be our Rassilon. Is that how it's pronounced? Is that even how it's spelt?
Yes.
I'd like that. I'd like that very much.
Yeah.
So, Bryan Cranston as Rassilon, and we have Doctor Who being played by the titular Idris Cumberbatch.
A combination of Idris Elba and Brendan Cramblesack.
I'm pretty sure we could just put that into an AI and let it pump out the results, and then I will make that the thumbnail for today's episode.
Oh, please do.
Idris Cumberbatch. I'm going to write that down. Idris Cumberbatch. I'm going to put that into Stable Fusion AI. I'm going to have it pump out 16 images, and we're going to pick the rest one as the thumbnail.
Okay. Let's.
What are you pointing at, Dan?
We've been going for an
Do
hour.
you have places to go? No, it says right here, disk space remaining for recording, 46 hours and 38 minutes.
Oh, right, okay. So
An hour and 10 minutes of runtime is great. That's fine. Let's go for another 6 hours.
Okay.
No,
Well,
it's
I've got
okay.
it right, so-
I know you have places to be. That's okay, Dan. You've got things that are more important than Doctor Who. Okay.
Nothing's more important than Doctor Who.
No, that's okay, Dan. That's
Nothing.
okay. Our modern Doctor Who. What about it? This Hollywood version that they've cast, they've put in there. What about it would work? And what about it do you think would fail?
I don't know. I'm curious because it'll have more money.
It will. They will give this a budget.
And like so many things, as long as they give it time to be made as well, don't rush it.
Yeah.
Because it'll also need time. The story will need to be right. We've already done the casting for them.
I mean, it almost feels like this is an inevitability in today's time where everything just gets remade and redone. I'm hoping the BBC keep it going and experiment a bit and make it interesting. But as a film, Hollywood...
There's great difficulty in making a Doctor Who film that's successful because if you look at Star Trek's quite easy to make. I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to dick on Star Trek because I'm not.
Pick a part in the timeline and do your business.
Well, it's not only that. Just in terms of your basic story structure and what people will mindlessly eat popcorn to, it's a spaceship.
Right.
It's gonna get into a fight with another spaceship, and people like that because it's it's spectacular.
I guess that's fair. You can kind of take it anywhere though. Just
but
you're writing it.
Generally,
I'm trying not to anger all the Star Trek fans. I'm one of them.
I've got nothing against Star Trek. Just they've made 100 Star Trek films of varying quality, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
I like the Star Trek films. I'm not dicking on Star Trek.
This is kind of untouched ground, really. A Doctor Who, serious Hollywood,
Like a proper
serious budget attempt.
The sort of Doctor Who is always going to... A good Doctor Who is always going to come down to what H. Bomber Guy calls the man in the room. There's always a bit where there's a deep conversation with fucking Davros or the Master about, and he always tries to talk them down. While wonderful to me as a human being, while that is one of the reasons I'm drawn to the character of Doctor Who, is that he's always going to give them a chance to knock it on the head.
Of course, it's his nature, I suppose. That's what makes this character different to Captain
Captain
America. We both went with captains, but yeah.
It's not very cinematic. I'll be the first to admit that. It's hard to, because it's science fiction. Sure, if Doctor Who was labelled as a fucking legal drama like
She-Hulk.
I was going to go with like Kramer versus Kramer or My Cousin Vinny or something like that. Then fair enough. But it's a science fiction. There needs to be explosions and
right.
And that's why another reason why my first pitch to Hollywood Doctor was the Time War, because it's got all that.
Well, what about that can work? What about how Hollywood would likely approach this would make it work? What do they need to do? We've got our shopping list out. Here's Jon Favreau. Here's a list of things that need to happen for this to be good.
What needs to happen is that the people who would make a Doctor Who film need to remember that Doctor Who isn't Star Trek. It's not Star Wars. The Doctor's not going to get into a fight every 15 minutes. There's running, there's chasing, but ultimately the Doctor's going to try and find a peaceful,
clever solutions as well.
Well, yeah, clever solutions.
MacGyver some stuff up too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to always be a diplomatic solution, but some
eventually,
very clever sci-fi. The kind of things that only a very intelligent, very well-lived man could think of.
I mean, there's a simple scenario would be scientist builds machine that he thinks will do great things, but the Doctor's like, don't push the button because the bad things will happen. And most of the story is the Doctor trying to prevent the man from pushing the button. When the man pushes the button, the bad things happen, and the man is killed by their own hubris, and the Doctor's got to, put the bad thing back in the box.
I would want
Basically.
serious thought and commitment put into the quote-unquote B story of this. I'd want to see, if you've got your Doctor Who doing stuff, great. You've got serious things happening. I'd want to see other interlinking plot points that come together at some point. I'd want to see human resistance on the ground.
Yeah.
I'd want to see the people in charge of the corporations and all this coming up with their ideas as a separate story, which maybe leads to the Cybermen.
Yeah.
I'd want to see that, and I want to see it all come together, but I want all of these threads to be spectacular. I think they need to be. Because otherwise, if even one of these threads fails, people are going to pick it apart. People are going to go, well, that was good, but this whole stuff here on the side, them going to the race and picking up the thing and getting the technology and doing the stuff, ruined the whole film.
Going to the casino with...
Yeah. To give this a good chance to really be popular, it would need a lot of very... there need to be consistency, but there'd need to be good writing, which seems like such a cop-out sort of thing to say, but it needs that, because otherwise it will fail, because a Hollywood film does not and is not there to appeal to just the super Doctor Who nerdy fans. It's there to appeal to a mass audience, to everyone, so everyone can enjoy Doctor Who, because it's for sharing.
No, to be cynical, my cynical brain just woke up and went, no, that's wrong. It's to make as much money as possible.
Of course. Okay, and
if you exclude people, if you make a Doctor Who film that appeals to only Doctor Who fans, only Doctor Who fans are going to watch it.
Box office flop.
Yeah, and we're only, 15% of the population?
There's
another 45% of the population.
Yeah, that's real optimistic. And inevitably, what would happen, given the things we've learned, what would happen that would make it fail? And I think I'd like to start here, actually. I think they do what I feel... This isn't the Marvel podcast, but this is what I feel Marvel is doing at the moment, Disney's doing with the property, and that is really taking the cinematic universe thing too far and just having every single plausible thought and character be its own entire series.
Yeah.
I don't think you need that. It makes money.
Sure.
And it will make money. And I think a lot of people would watch a lot of Doctor Who off the back of a trilogy hit Hollywood series being excellent.
Yeah.
Too much bait for new series and spin-offs and hey, look, we've got our own what's John Barrowman's Captain Jack Harkness. We wouldn't cast the same person, they're casting someone else. They'd have a whole thing, and that would be a whole TV series. Maybe we do Torchwood again, for in the sort of I know, calm down. I think that would be a problem. I think if they tried to bait it out too much, they need to make, kind of like MCU Phase 1, they need to make an enclosed space. They need to make a plan, a start and an end. They can't end it by going, and here's 4 other things that are going to happen, and here's a bit of another show, which is a mistake that's happening in Hollywood now with DC, with Marvel. Probably other stuff too, that eludes me right now. And that is, I think, the one thing that would F this up the most is eyes bigger than the belly, trying to make it bigger than it is.
Yeah.
Doctor Who can't be that big. Nothing can be that big and succeed indefinitely.
Yeah, I think I would like to see spin-off shows, but not like Torchwood. Stuff, like what if the Doctor had ended the Daleks in Genesis of the Daleks? What if what would the universe look like? What would that do to the Doctor? Like I could watch an hour of that, and then next week, what if the Doctor was all puppets? Something silly like that. Just fun little what if scenarios. What if there was a musical episode?
We're going to be exploring the what if premise. I don't think we have the time today in today's show to do that right now, but we're going to be looking at what ifs. I want us to talk in entirety about different ways Doctor Who could work in different genres, as perhaps horror, for example, which is a great one because there's already so much horror
in Doctor
Who. It doesn't have to be chest-based a horror, but there's so much with that you could do to make interesting, compelling, terrifying stories without just jump scares. And you know what? Jump scares are okay. You can turn around and there's a weeping angel there, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
As overused as they are, maybe you could do stuff with that. And we will be talking about that in future episodes. And something we wanted to discuss today, but I don't think we have the time, is our own dream Doctor Who's. Our own dream series or our own dream ideas, who we'd cast, who we'd set as director. Do you want to talk about that? Because that's easily going to be another 20 minutes at least.
No, we'll save that for next week.
We'll save that.
Spoiler, my dream casting of Doctor Who is me.
Wow, excellent. My dream casting of...
If you pick me too, my wish will come true.
Oh, well, I was going to say, me as the companion.
Aww.
The lovable idiot. What's that then? Well, that's a Dalek,
What?
Eve. What does it do? What does it mean? Wow, look at all the different colours. There's a red one.
Run, you
a
idiot!
blue one, a green one.
Run!
Green is not
Run!
a creative colour, Dan.
Run!
Thanks for listening, friends.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You got to say it unironically. Yeah,
Yay!
we're going to upload that. And maybe one day we'll be able to just have 8 to 9 different sponsor segments scattered throughout the episode that interrupt and ruin the flow of the show.
Ruin the flow of the show while I talk about Raid Shadow Legends.
No, please, God, no. Oh no. But maybe...
Manscaping.
If they take me to a restaurant and
It
there
does.
I am tucking in a bib, and just as I'm about to dig into my lasagna, they
pills.
They push over a real nice lasagna to me. No, they pass me money.
Dick pills.
What are you saying?
I said dick pills.
What's dick pills?
Some people are sponsored by
Oh
Blues.
yeah, they're right. You know what? That's fine too. We will take all of the money. Just feed us a lasagna.
Give me a
push over
lasagna.
a big bag of money, and we'll make you a Doctor Who film for you.
It's Dan and Eve in the morning, signing out.
Cool. Tell me what you thought of Idris Cumberbatch in the comments below.
Yes.
Goodbye, Dan.
Goodbye, Eve.